Captain Marcus Rivera rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the endless expanse of stars through the viewport of the UES horizon. 3 months into humanity's first deep space exploration mission, and they had encountered nothing but empty space and dead planets. The crew was growing restless, fuel reserves were running low, and Earth Command was breathing down his neck for results. "Captain," came the voice of Lieutenant Sarah Chan from the communication station. "We're receiving an unknown signal. It's strange." Marcus turned from the viewport, his weathered face showing the strain of command. At 45, he had seen enough military action to know when something was off. "Strange how?" "It's not coming from any known frequency, sir. And it's musical. Like a lullaby." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Marcus had been commanding starships for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for first contact protocols. The theoretical training felt inadequate when faced with the real thing. "Put it through the speakers, Lieutenant." The bridge filled with a haunting melody that seemed to resonate in their very bones. It was beautiful, otherworldly, and completely alien. The music had a hypnotic quality that made several crew members sway unconsciously. "Source?" Marcus asked, fighting the urge to close his eyes and listen. "Unknown, sir. It seems to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once." Suddenly, the music stopped. In the silence that followed, a brilliant flash of light appeared off their starboard bow. Where empty space had been moments before, a massive structure materialized. It was unlike anything in human engineering records, organic curves mixed with crystalline surfaces that caught and refracted the light of nearby stars. "Red alert!" Marcus commanded. "All hands to battle stations." The bridge erupted in controlled chaos as crew members rushed to their posts. Weapons systems came online, shields raised to maximum power. But, as quickly as the tension had built, it dissipated when scans revealed something unexpected. "Sir," reported the tactical officer, "the structure isn't showing any weapon signatures. In fact, it appears to be inviting us in." "Explain." "There's a docking bay opening on the side facing us. It's perfectly sized for our ship." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. How could an alien structure know the exact dimensions of their vessel? They were thousands of light years from Earth, in uncharted space. No one should know they were coming. Before he could voice his concerns, the communication system crackled to life. A voice, speaking perfect English with a slight accent he couldn't place, filled the bridge. "Welcome, brave travelers from Earth. I have been waiting so long for your arrival. Please, come aboard. There is much to discuss." The crew exchanged worried glances. Marcus stepped forward, his hand hovering over the weapon controls. "This is Captain Marcus Rivera of the United Earthship Horizon. Identify yourself and explain how you know our language and planet of origin." A soft laugh, musical and warm, came through the speakers. "Oh, dear Marcus. I know so much more than that. I know about your childhood in New Mexico, your love of old Earth movies, and how you always drink your coffee black with exactly 2 sugars. But we can discuss such things properly once you come aboard. My name is Zephyra, and I have traveled across the galaxy to meet you." Marcus felt his blood run cold. The information this being possessed was impossible to obtain. His personal details were classified at the highest levels, known only to a select few on Earth. Yet this alien spoke of them as if reading from his personnel file. "Sir," whispered Lieutenant Chen, "how could they possibly know those details?" Marcus raised a hand for silence, then activated the ship's external communications. "Zephyra, while we appreciate your welcome, I must insist on knowing how you obtained classified information about our crew and mission." "Classified?" The voice sounded genuinely puzzled. "But, dear one, nothing about you is classified to me. I have studied your species for cycles beyond counting. I know every human who has ever lived, every dream they've dreamed, every choice they've made. You see, I am what your people might call a keeper of souls." The bridge fell into stunned silence. Marcus had encountered many strange things in his military career, but nothing had prepared him for this. The implications of what this being was claiming were staggering. A keeper of souls, he repeated slowly. Yes. My people are tasked with watching over developing species, guiding them when necessary, protecting them from threats they cannot yet comprehend. We have been observing humanity since your ancestors first looked up at the stars and wondered what lay beyond. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist, leaned forward from her station. Captain, if what this being says is true, it could revolutionize our understanding of galactic civilization. We have to investigate. Marcus nodded grimly. As much as every instinct told him this was dangerous, the potential for first contact was too important to ignore. Very well, Zephyra. We'll dock with your station. But understand that any hostile action will be met with appropriate force. Another musical laugh filled the bridge. Hostile? Oh, my dear Marcus, you misunderstand completely. I mean you no harm. Quite the opposite, actually. I have something wonderful to tell you, something that will change both our peoples forever. The massive alien structure adjusted its position with fluid grace, the docking bay aligning perfectly with their ship. As they approached, Marcus could see the incredible detail of the construction. The walls seemed to pulse with a gentle bioluminescence, and patterns of light flowed across the surface like living circuits. Docking procedures initiated, reported the helm officer. Their station is providing guidance signals. It's like they know our ship's systems better than we do. As the horizon settled into the docking bay, the crew prepared for what might be humanity's most significant moment since the invention of the warp drive. Marcus selected a small away team, Dr. Vasquez for her xenobiology expertise, Lieutenant Chen for communications, and Sergeant Mills for security. The airlock cycled, and they stepped into an environment that defied all expectations. The corridor beyond was clearly designed for beings much smaller than humans, with graceful arches and softly glowing walls that seemed to respond to their presence. The air was breathable, with a faint scent of something like jasmine and ozone. As they moved deeper into the station, they began to see signs of its inhabitants. Small alcoves lined the walls, each containing what appeared to be meditation or sleep chambers sized for beings no taller than a human child. Everything was built with an attention to beauty and harmony that spoke of a highly advanced aesthetic sense. Captain, Dr. Vasquez whispered, the architecture suggests a species with a very different psychology from humans. Everything is designed for peace and contemplation. They reached what appeared to be a central chamber, a vast space with a dome overhead that displayed a real-time view of the cosmos. In the center of the room stood a figure that took their breath away. Zephyra was indeed tiny by human standards, no taller than 4 feet, with features that seemed to blend the best of several Earth species. Her skin had a subtle luminescence, shifting between pale blue and silver as she moved. Large, expressive eyes dominated her delicate face, and her hair seemed to be made of starlight itself, flowing and shifting with its own inner light. She wore robes that appeared to be woven from cosmic dust and nebula clouds, garments that shouldn't have been possible yet somehow existed. When she smiled, it was like watching a sunrise over an alien world. Marcus, she said, her voice even more beautiful in person. At last we meet face to face. Marcus stepped forward cautiously, his hand never straying far from his sidearm. Zephyra. Your station and technology are impressive. But I still need answers about how you know so much about us. Zephyra nodded, her expression growing serious. Of course. You deserve the truth. My people, the Valix, are among the oldest sentient species in this galaxy. We evolved consciousness when your solar system was still forming from stellar dust. Over the eons, we have taken upon ourselves the role of guardians for younger species. She gestured, and the dome overhead shifted to show images of various alien worlds and civilizations. We watch, we guide when necessary, and we protect promising species from threats they cannot yet handle. Humanity caught our attention early because of your species' unique combination of creativity, resilience, and capacity for both destruction and transcendence. The images shifted to show scenes from human history, the building of the pyramids, the Renaissance, the first moon landing, the development of warp drive technology. We have been present for every major milestone in your development, though always from the shadows. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. This is incredible. You're talking about a galactic civilization that predates human history by millions of years. The implications for xenoarchaeology alone are staggering. Yes, Zephyra finished with a warm smile. But, Dr. Vasquez, that is only the beginning of what I have to share with you. The small alien moved to the center of the chamber, and, suddenly, the space around them shifted. The walls became transparent, revealing the vast interior of the station. It was enormous, far larger than it had appeared from outside, filled with gardens, libraries, and chambers that seemed to stretch on forever. This station, Zephyra continued, is called the Sanctuary of Eternal Bonds. It serves a very special purpose in Valix society. You see, Captain Rivera, I did not contact you merely to share knowledge or establish diplomatic relations. Marcus felt a growing sense of unease. Then, why? Zephyra's luminous eyes fixed on his, and her smile became radiant, almost blinding in its intensity. Because, dear Marcus, according to the ancient laws and customs of my people, I have chosen you as my bondmate. What your species would call a husband. The away team stood in stunned silence. Marcus felt as if the deck had just dropped out from under him. I'm sorry, what? Among the Valix, Zephyra explained patiently, it is traditional for those of us who reach maturity to choose a bondmate from among the species we have studied. It is both a personal choice and a diplomatic one, creating permanent ties between civilizations. I have observed humanity for over 300 of your years, and, in all that time, no human has impressed me as much as you have. Lieutenant Chen found her voice first. Ma'am, I don't think you understand. Captain Rivera is human, and you're not. The biological and cultural differences alone are irrelevant, Zephyra interrupted gently. The Valix have technology that can bridge such gaps. And, culturally, I have studied human customs extensively. I know all about marriage ceremonies, honeymoons, anniversary celebrations. I am quite prepared to adapt to human traditions while sharing some of my own. Marcus finally managed to speak. Zephyra, I'm honored, but this is impossible. I have responsibilities to my crew, to Earth Command, to my species. I can't just abandon everything to marry an alien I've just met. Zephyra's expression grew sad, but her smile never wavered. Oh, but you misunderstand again, dear one. I'm not asking you to abandon anything. Quite the opposite. I'm offering to help humanity reach heights it never dreamed possible. The Valix have technology that could solve all of Earth's energy problems, end disease and aging, allow your people to travel freely among the stars. She gestured, and holographic displays appeared showing incredible technologies, cities that floated in space, starships that could cross the galaxy in days, medical devices that could heal any injury or illness. All of this and more would be shared freely with humanity as part of our bonding contract. You would not be losing your life, Marcus. You would be gaining a new one where you could help guide your species into a golden age. Dr. Vasquez was staring at the displays with undisguised amazement. Captain, the scientific implications alone, this technology could advance human civilization by thousands of years overnight. But Marcus was focused on something else entirely. What happens if I say no? For the first time since they had met, Zephyra's expression faltered slightly. That would be unfortunate. The ancient laws are very specific about bonding contracts. If my chosen mate refuses, it brings great shame upon my family line. The consequences for both our species could be severe. Severe how? Marcus pressed. Zephyra hesitated, then spoke quietly. The Valix Council would likely declare humanity an unstable species, unsuitable for advancement. Your people would be quarantined to your home system, prevented from expanding into the galaxy until you demonstrate sufficient maturity. It could be thousands of years before the quarantine is lifted. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. Humanity's expansion into space would be stopped cold, their species trapped in one solar system while other civilizations claimed the galaxy. It was a future too terrible to contemplate. So this isn't really a choice at all, he said grimly. Of course it's a choice. Zephyra said, her voice taking on a pleading tone. I'm not forcing you, Marcus. I'm offering you partnership, love, and the advancement of your entire species. I know this is sudden, but I have been preparing for this moment for centuries. I have studied every aspect of human culture, learned your languages, familiarized myself with your foods, your entertainment, your customs. I am ready to be the perfect wife for you." She waved her hand, and the chamber transformed around them. Suddenly, they were standing in a perfect replica of a suburban Earth home, complete with a white picket fence visible through the windows. The alien technology had recreated every detail down to the smell of fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen. "I can create any environment you desire," Zephyra continued eagerly. "We could live on Earth, if you prefer, or on my homeworld, or traveling among the stars. I can take any form that pleases you, adapt to any lifestyle that makes you comfortable." As if to demonstrate, her appearance began to shift. Her alien features became more human-like, her height increased to match Marcus's, her ethereal robes transformed into a simple Earth-style dress. In moments, she looked like a beautiful human woman with only the faintest traces of her alien nature remaining in her eyes. "You see," she said, her voice now carrying a slight southern accent, "I can be anything you need me to be." Marcus stared at the transformed alien, his mind reeling with the impossibility of his situation. Behind him, he could hear his crew members whispering among themselves, debating the implications of what they had just witnessed. "I need time," he said finally. "This is the biggest decision in human history. I can't make it in a few minutes." Zephyra's face fell, but she nodded understanding. "Of course. I have waited centuries for this moment, I can wait a little longer. But, please understand, dear Marcus, that the Council expects my mission to be completed soon. They grow impatient with my attachment to your species." She gestured, and the domestic illusion faded away, returning them to the alien chamber. "I will give you time to consult with your crew and consider your options. But, remember, this is not just about us. The future of humanity hangs in the balance." As they prepared to return to their ship, Zephyra called out one final time. "Marcus? I want you to know that this is not merely duty for me. I have watched you for years, seen your courage, your compassion, your dedication to protecting others. I have genuinely come to care for you. This bonding would not be a sacrifice for me, it would be the fulfillment of a dream." The away team returned to the horizon in silence, each lost in their own thoughts about what they had just experienced. As they reached the ship, Marcus knew that the next few hours would determine not just his own fate, but the future of the entire human race. In the quiet of his ready room, Marcus sat alone with the weight of an impossible choice. Outside his viewport, the alien station pulsed with gentle light, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Somewhere inside that structure, a being older than human civilization waited for his answer. The future of humanity rested in his hands, and he had no idea what to do next. With a beaming smile, the tiny alien declared, "I'm your chosen wife," continued. Marcus paced his ready room like a caged animal, the weight of an impossible decision crushing down on his shoulders. Outside, the Valix station hung in space like a jeweled monument to a civilization beyond human comprehension. 3 days had passed since Zephyra's proposal, and Earth Command was demanding answers he didn't have. A soft chime indicated someone at his door. "Come," he called wearily. Dr. Vasquez entered, carrying a data pad thick with analysis reports. Her usually neat hair was disheveled from long hours of research, and her eyes held the manic gleam of a scientist on the verge of a breakthrough. "Captain, you need to see this," she said without preamble, setting the pad on his desk. "I've been analyzing the scans we took of their technology. Marcus, what they're offering, it's not just advanced, it's revolutionary. Their power generation alone could solve Earth's energy crisis permanently." Marcus glanced at the data, but his mind was elsewhere. "Elena, I appreciate the analysis, but this isn't really about technology. It's about whether I'm willing to sacrifice my freedom for the future of humanity." "Sacrifice?" Dr. Vasquez looked genuinely puzzled. "Captain, have you considered that this might not be a sacrifice at all? Zephyra clearly cares about you. She's offering partnership, not servitude. And, from what I've observed of her species' technology and culture, you'd be gaining far more than you're losing." Before Marcus could respond, the ship's communication system activated. Lieutenant Chen's voice came through with barely controlled excitement. "Captain, please report to the bridge." We're receiving a transmission from Earth Command, and, well, sir, you need to hear this. Marcus and Dr. Vasquez rushed to the bridge, where they found the crew gathered around the main display. Admiral Harrison's stern face filled the screen, but, behind him, Marcus could see something that made his blood run cold: other figures in Earth Command uniforms, and, among them, beings that were clearly not human. Captain Rivera, Admiral Harrison began without his usual pleasantries. I'm going to be direct. 3 days ago, we were contacted by representatives of something called the Valix Council. They've been very enlightening about humanity's situation. The Admiral stepped aside, and a tall, elegant being moved into view. Unlike Zephyra's diminutive form, this Valix appeared to be an adult of their species, nearly 7 feet tall, with features that were beautiful but coldly aristocratic. When it spoke, its voice carried the authority of eons. I am Counselor the Lion of the Valix High Council, the being said, its melodious voice somehow managing to convey both politeness and threat. I bring greetings to humanity, along with a simple message. Young Zephyra has chosen one of your kind as her bondmate. This is a great honor for your primitive species, one that opens the door to advancement beyond your current comprehension. Marcus felt every eye on the bridge turn to him. He stepped forward, drawing on every ounce of command presence he possessed. Counselor the Lion, I appreciate the contact, but I have concerns about the terms of this arrangement. It seems less like an honor and more like coercion. Thalian's expression didn't change, but something flickered in its ancient eyes. Coercion? An interesting choice of words. Tell me, Captain, do you consider it coercion when a parent guides a child away from danger? When a teacher corrects a student's errors? Your species stands at a crossroads. One path leads to growth, advancement, and partnership with galactic civilization. The other leads to continued isolation and eventual stagnation. Admiral Harrison leaned into the frame. Captain, the Council has been very specific about the consequences of refusing this offer. Earth's expansion beyond our solar system would be permanently restricted. No FTL travel, no colonization, no contact with other species. We'd be alone. But, if I accept, Marcus said carefully, what guarantees do we have that humanity will be treated as equals rather than pets? Counselor the Lion smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Captain Rivera, your species has existed for perhaps 300,000 years. The Valix have guided galactic civilization for over 50 million years. We do not view younger species as pets, we view them as students. Some students advance quickly and become trusted partners. Others require more time and guidance. The choice of how quickly humanity advances is entirely up to you. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. Counselor, if we may ask, are there other species who have gone through this process? How did they fare? An excellent question, the Lion replied. The Zarathi chose partnership 8,000 years ago. Today, they are valued members of the Galactic Council, with colonies across 3 spiral arms. The Kandari, however, refused our guidance 12,000 years ago. They remain confined to their home system, having never developed beyond primitive faster-than-light travel. The implications were staggering. Marcus could see in his crew's faces the same realization he was having: this wasn't just about him anymore. This was about the entire future trajectory of human civilization. I need to speak with Zephyra again, Marcus said finally. Of course, the Lion replied. She awaits your return. But, Captain, understand that the Council's patience is not infinite. We have other matters to attend to, other species to guide. A decision must be made soon. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Marcus looked around at his crew, these brave men and women who had volunteered for humanity's first deep space mission, never imagining they would become the deciding factor in their species' future. Sir, Lieutenant Chin said quietly, whatever you decide, we support you. Sergeant Mills nodded grimly. You didn't ask for this burden, Captain. None of us did. But, if it helps, I think you should know, I've been running security analyses on that station for 3 days. Their technology is so far beyond ours that if they wanted to destroy us, we'd never even know it happened. The fact that they're asking instead of demanding says something about their intentions. Marcus made his decision. Prep the shuttle. I'm going back over there. This time, I want to have a real conversation with Zephyra, not as a potential diplomatic crisis, but as two individuals trying to figure out an impossible situation. 30 minutes later, Marcus found himself once again in Zephyra's chamber, but this time she had decorated it differently. Gone was the cosmic grandeur. Instead, it resembled a comfortable earth cafe, complete with the smell of brewing coffee and soft jazz playing in the background. Zephyra herself had taken a form that was subtly alien but approachably so, still small in stature, but with features that suggested both human and something more ethereal. She was sitting at a small table with 2 cups of coffee, and when she saw him, her face lit up with genuine joy. "Marcus! I was hoping you'd come back. Please, sit. I made the coffee exactly how you like it, black with 2 sugars." Marcus sat across from her, studying her face. "Zephyra, I need to understand something. Your people obviously have the power to simply take what they want from humanity. Why go through this elaborate courtship ritual?" Zephyra's expression grew serious, and, for the first time, Marcus saw something vulnerable in her ancient eyes. "Because power without consent breeds resentment, and resentment breeds rebellion. We learned this lesson millions of years ago with other species. True partnership requires willing participation from both sides." She reached across the table and gently took his hand. Her skin was warm and surprisingly human-like, though it seemed to pulse with its own inner light. "Marcus, I want you to understand something. This isn't just about politics or species advancement for me. I chose you specifically, not just as a representative of humanity, but as an individual. I've watched you make difficult decisions under pressure. I've seen how you care for your crew, how you sacrifice your own comfort for their safety. I've observed your curiosity about the universe, your desire to explore and learn." She paused, seeming to struggle with her words. "In my culture, we live for thousands of years. Most of my kind grow cold and distant over time, seeing younger species as temporary curiosities. But when I first observed your ship entering this sector, when I watched you navigate that asteroid field to save your crew from solar radiation, I felt something I hadn't experienced in centuries. What you would call attraction." Marcus felt his carefully constructed barriers beginning to crumble. "Zephyra, even if what you're saying is true, how can this possibly work? We're from different species, different worlds. I know nothing about your culture, your expectations, your way of life." Zephyra smiled, and, suddenly, the cafe around them shifted. The walls became transparent, revealing a vast garden filled with plants from dozens of different worlds. Streams of water floated through the air in impossible spirals, and creatures that looked like living rainbows flitted between flowering trees. "This is my home," she said softly. "The Valix live in harmony with nature and technology, in spaces where beauty and function are inseparable. We value art, music, literature, and learning above all things. We create rather than destroy, nurture rather than exploit." The scene shifted again, showing Marcus glimpses of Valix society, vast libraries filled with the knowledge of 1,000 species, concert halls where music was created by manipulating gravity and light, laboratories where scientists worked to solve the mysteries of the universe. "We could explore all of this together," Zephyra continued. "I could show you wonders beyond anything in human imagination. And, in return, you could share with me the unique perspective that makes humanity so fascinating, your capacity for hope in the face of impossible odds, your ability to find humor in the darkest situations, your talent for creating beauty from simple materials." Marcus found himself genuinely moved by what he was seeing. This wasn't the cold, clinical advanced civilization he had expected. The Valix seemed to genuinely cherish art, beauty, and learning in ways that resonated with the best of human culture. "What would be expected of me?" he asked quietly. "Partnership," Zephyra replied simply. "In our culture, bonded pairs work together as equals. You would help me with my duties as a cultural liaison, and I would assist you in whatever endeavors capture your interest. We could spend our time exploring the galaxy, studying new species, perhaps even helping to guide other developing civilizations." She waved her hand, and, suddenly, they were standing on the bridge of a ship unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. It was clearly Valix design, but incorporated elements that were distinctly human, a captain's chair designed for human proportions, control interfaces that would be familiar to Earth-trained officers. "I had this ship built as a bonding gift," Zephyra said shyly. It's designed for both our species, capable of traveling anywhere in the galaxy. We could use it to maintain contact with both our peoples while carving out our own path among the stars. Marcus walked around the bridge, marveling at the seamless integration of human and alien technology. Everything was beautiful, functional, and clearly designed with love and attention to detail. "Zephyra," he said finally, "I need you to be honest with me. What happens to my humanity if I accept this bonding? Will I still be myself, or will I become something else?" Zephyra's expression grew very serious. "The bonding process does involve some physical changes to ensure compatibility between our species. You would live as long as I do, potentially thousands of years. Your physical capabilities would be enhanced, and you would gain access to certain Valix abilities, like the capacity to communicate telepathically and to perceive energy patterns invisible to normal human senses." She moved closer to him, her luminous eyes searching his face. "But your essential self, your personality, your memories, your values, none of that would change. You would still be Marcus Rivera, still be human at your core. You would simply be a human with expanded capabilities and a much longer lifespan." Marcus felt a strange calm settling over him. For the first time in days, the choice was becoming clear. "And my crew? My responsibilities?" "Could be maintained," Zephyra said eagerly. "The Horizon could be upgraded with Valix technology and serve as humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. Your crew could be the advance team for human expansion into the galaxy, with you and I serving as liaisons between our species." Marcus looked out at the stars through the alien ship's viewport. He thought about his crew, about Earth, about the future of humanity hanging in the balance. But, for the first time, he also allowed himself to think about his own desires, his longing for adventure, his curiosity about the universe, his growing fascination with this ancient being who had chosen him from among billions. "If I say yes," he said slowly, "when would this bonding ceremony take place?" Zephyra's face lit up like a supernova. "We could begin the preparations immediately. The ceremony itself is quite beautiful, a joining of minds and souls under the light of a binary star system I know. It involves the exchange of life essences, the binding of our fates together for as long as we both shall exist." She paused, suddenly, looking uncertain. "Unless you'd prefer a human-style ceremony? I've studied your marriage traditions extensively. I could arrange for Earth-style rings, music, even a wedding cake if you'd like." Despite everything, Marcus found himself smiling. "Actually, both sound nice. A combination of traditions might be fitting for a union between species." Zephyra's joy was infectious, and Marcus realized that for the first time since this whole crisis began, he was feeling something other than dread. There was excitement here, anticipation, even a growing affection for this strange being who had turned his life upside down. "There is one more thing," Zephyra said, her voice taking on a formal tone. "The Council requires a public declaration of intent before they will approve the bonding. Both our species must witness your acceptance of the union." Marcus nodded. He had expected this. The political ramifications were too significant for a private ceremony. "When do we make this announcement?" "Tomorrow, if you're ready. I've arranged for simultaneous broadcasts to Earth and to the major Valix worlds. It will be humanity's formal introduction to galactic society." Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history settling on his shoulders. "Zephyra, before I give you my final answer, I need one promise from you." "Anything," she replied without hesitation. "Promise me that humanity will be treated as partners, not subjects. That we'll have a real voice in our own development and expansion into the galaxy. I won't condemn my species to being junior partners in their own future." Zephyra's expression grew solemn, and, suddenly, Marcus could see the ancient wisdom behind her youthful appearance. "I promise you, Marcus Rivera, that I will use every bit of influence I possess to ensure humanity's voice is heard and respected. As my bondmate, you will have direct access to the Valix Council. Together, we can advocate for your species' interests." Marcus extended his hand to her, and she took it without hesitation. "Then, yes, Zephyra of the Valix. I accept your proposal. I'll be your bondmate." Zephyra's response was immediate and overwhelming. She practically launched herself into his arms, her small form somehow managing to knock him backward onto a conveniently placed couch that definitely hadn't been there moments before. Her joy was so intense that the very air around them began to sparkle with tiny points of light. "Oh, Marcus. You've made me so happy. I promise you won't regret this decision. We're going to have such wonderful adventures together." As he held the excited alien in his arms, Marcus couldn't help but smile. Perhaps this wasn't the future he had planned for himself, but it was certainly going to be interesting. Tomorrow, he would stand before both species and change the course of human history. Tonight, he was going to get to know the woman who would be his partner among the stars. Outside the station, the Horizon floated in space, its crew making preparations for humanity's debut on the galactic stage. They had come looking for new worlds to explore and had instead found a new destiny among the stars. It was, Marcus reflected, exactly the kind of impossible situation that seemed to follow humanity wherever they went. And, for the first time since this adventure began, he was looking forward to what came next. With a beaming smile, the tiny alien declared, "I'm your chosen wife." Conclusion: the broadcast began at precisely 1400 hours, Earth Standard Time. Across two species separated by unimaginable distances and evolutionary paths, billions of beings turned their attention to a moment that would reshape both their futures. Marcus stood in the center of Zephyrus Station, now configured as an elaborate ceremony chamber. The space had been transformed into something that honored both human and Valix traditions. Earth flowers intermingled with luminescent alien plants, human music blended with the haunting harmonies of Valix composition, and symbols from both cultures woven together in patterns of light that danced across the walls. He wore his dress uniform, modified with Valix ceremonial elements that Zephyra had insisted upon, a sash of woven starlight across his chest and a circlet of crystallized time around his brow. The alien edition should have felt ridiculous, but somehow they seemed to belong, as if the universe itself had conspired to make this moment feel right. Zephyra stood beside him, radiant in robes that seemed to be cut from the fabric of space itself. She had chosen to appear in her natural form for the ceremony, wanting both species to see her as she truly was. Her alien beauty was stunning, but what struck Marcus most was the joy radiating from her every gesture. This was clearly the culmination of a dream that had sustained her for centuries. "Citizens of Earth," Admiral Harrison's voice came through the communication system, "and honored members of the Valix Council, we gather today to witness an unprecedented moment in galactic history, the first formal bonding between our species." On Earth, Marcus knew that every screen, every communication device, every public gathering place was tuned to this broadcast. Humanity was about to learn that they were not alone in the universe, and that their future among the stars depended on the choice of a single man they had never heard of. Counselor the Lion stepped forward, his imposing presence somehow managed to convey both authority and benevolence. "Today marks the end of humanity's isolation and the beginning of its journey toward true galactic citizenship. Captain Rivera, by accepting this bonding, you speak not just for yourself, but for your entire species." Marcus felt the weight of those words, but, surprisingly, it no longer felt crushing. Instead, it felt like responsibility he was ready to bear. "I understand, Counselor," he replied, his voice carrying clearly across space to both worlds. "I accept this responsibility willingly, and I pledge to serve as a bridge between our peoples." Zephyra took his hand, and, suddenly, the chamber filled with the most beautiful music either species had ever heard, a harmony that seemed to resonate in their very souls. Marcus realized that this was what he had heard that first day, the signal that had led them to this moment. "Marcus Rivera of Earth," Zephyra said, her voice somehow carrying both infinite tenderness and cosmic authority, "do you accept me as your bondmate, your partner in all endeavors, your companion among the stars for as long as we both shall exist?" "I do," Marcus replied, and meant it completely. "And, do you accept the responsibilities that come with this union, to serve as humanity's voice in the Galactic Council, to help guide your species through their expansion into the wider universe, to stand as proof that different peoples can find common ground among the infinite?" "I do." Zephyra smiled, tears of joy flowing down her luminescent cheeks. "Then, let our bonding begin." What followed was unlike anything in human experience. Zephyra placed her hands on Marcus's temples, and, suddenly, he could feel her mind touching his. It wasn't invasive or overwhelming, instead, it felt like coming home after a long journey. He could sense her memories, her emotions, her deep love for learning and exploration. More importantly, he could feel her genuine affection for him, an emotion that had grown over years of observation into something profound and real. In return, she experienced his memories, his childhood dreams of space exploration, his dedication to his crew, his curiosity about the universe beyond Earth's atmosphere. He felt her surprise and delight at the intensity of human emotions, the way they burned bright and true even in a relatively short lifespan. The bonding process lasted only minutes in real time, but to Marcus it felt like hours of intimate communion. When it ended, he found that he could still sense Zephyr's presence in his mind, not intrusively, but like a warm glow that would always be there when he needed it. "It is done," Counselor the Lion announced. By the ancient laws of the Valix and the witnessed consent of humanity, Marcus Rivera and Zephyra are now bonded as one. Let this union mark the beginning of a new age for both our species. The celebration that followed was unlike anything Marcus could have imagined. The station filled with representatives from dozens of species, all eager to welcome humanity into the galactic community. Dr. Vasquez was in heaven, frantically taking notes on alien biology and technology. Lieutenant Chen found herself in deep conversation with Valix communication specialists about developing translation protocols. Even Sergeant Mills seemed to be enjoying himself, comparing military tactics with a warrior species that looked like friendly tigers. But, for Marcus, the most important moment came when Admiral Harrison appeared on screen for a private conversation. "Captain," the Admiral said, and Marcus could see genuine pride in his weathered features, "I won't lie, when this all started, I thought we were looking at humanity's biggest disaster since the invention of nuclear weapons. But, watching that ceremony, seeing the technology they're offering to share with us, I think you may have just secured our species' greatest triumph." "Thank you, sir," Marcus replied. "I hope history proves you right. There is one thing, Captain. Earth Command has been discussing your new role with the Valix Council. It seems that as Zephyra's bondmate, you automatically hold a position on their Galactic Council. You'll be humanity's primary representative in galactic affairs." Marcus felt Zephyra's hand slip into his, and, through their new connection, he could sense her support and encouragement. "I understand, Admiral. It's a responsibility I don't take lightly." "Good. Because we're going to need your voice up there. The Council has already approved humanity's expansion beyond our solar system, and they're offering technological assistance for our colonization efforts. This is the beginning of something unprecedented, Marcus. Don't screw it up." The transmission ended with Admiral Harrison's characteristic bluntness, leaving Marcus and Zephyra alone in their new reality. Around them, the celebration continued, but they stepped away to a quiet alcove overlooking the stars. "Any regrets?" Zephyra asked softly, her alien features somehow perfectly expressing very human concern. Marcus considered the question seriously. In the space of a week, his entire life had been turned upside down. He was now bonded to an alien being, committed to a relationship that would last millennia, and responsible for representing his entire species in galactic politics. "No," he said finally, and realized he meant it completely. "This isn't the future I planned, but I think it might be better than anything I could have planned." Zephyra's smile could have powered a small star. "I'm so glad you feel that way, because I have a surprise for you." She gestured, and the wall in front of them became transparent, revealing a sight that took Marcus's breath away. Dozens of human ships were approaching the station, everything from cargo vessels to scientific research ships to what looked like the beginning of a small fleet. The Council fast-tracked humanity's application for galactic citizenship, Zephyra explained. These ships contain Earth's first wave of interstellar colonists, scientists, diplomats, and explorers. They'll be using this station as a staging area for humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Marcus watched as the first human colonial ship docked with the alien station, and felt a profound sense of rightness. This was how it should be, not humans conquering the galaxy alone, but joining a community of species working together to explore the infinite mysteries of the universe. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now," Zephyra said, taking his hand and leading him toward their new ship, "we begin our honeymoon tour of the galaxy. I want to show you the crystal caves of Zirion, the floating cities of Andara, the music gardens of Vale. We'll visit a dozen worlds, meet representatives of 50 species, and learn everything we can about our new community. As they boarded their ship, Marcus marveled at how perfectly it had been designed. Every surface, every control, every detail had been crafted to accommodate both human and Valak's needs. It was a masterpiece of engineering that represented the best of both their civilizations. And, after that, he asked as they settled into the bridge. After that, we help guide humanity's expansion into the galaxy. We establish colonies, make first contact with new species, explore unknown regions of space. We become the bridge between Earth and the stars. Zephyra began the launch sequence, and Marcus felt the ship respond with a smoothness that surpassed anything in human technology. Through the viewports, he could see the horizon preparing for its own journey. His former crew would be returning to Earth as heroes, bearing the technology and knowledge that would transform human civilization. Zephyra, he said as they left the station behind, I have to ask, was any of this planned? The way we found your station, the timing of our mission, even my specific psychological profile that made me suitable for bonding? Zephyra's expression grew thoughtful, and, through their bond, Marcus could sense her carefully considering her answer. Some of it was guided, she admitted finally. We did influence Earth Command's decision to send this particular mission to this particular sector of space. And, yes, I did specifically request that you be assigned as captain based on my observations of your character. Marcus felt a brief flare of anger. Had his free will been compromised from the beginning? But, Zephyra continued quickly, sensing his emotional response through their bond, the choice to accept the bonding was entirely yours. Everything that happened from the moment we met was based on your decisions and responses. I could guide you to the opportunity, but I could never force you to take it. Marcus considered this, then nodded slowly. I suppose that's fair. After all, every great opportunity in life requires some element of chance and preparation meeting at the right moment. Exactly, Zephyra agreed, relieved that he understood. And, Marcus, I want you to know that even if the circumstances were guided, my feelings for you are completely genuine. I chose you not just because you were suitable, but because I genuinely admire who you are as a person. As their ship accelerated toward their first destination, Marcus reflected on the incredible chain of events that had brought him to this moment. A week ago, he had been a simple starship captain on a routine exploration mission. Now he was the bonded partner of an ancient alien, humanity's representative in galactic civilization, and about to embark on adventures beyond his wildest imagination. The future stretched out before them like an uncharted star map, full of possibilities he couldn't even begin to imagine. There would be challenges, certainly learning to navigate galactic politics, helping his species adapt to their new role in the universe, building a relationship with a being whose way of thinking had been shaped by millions of years of evolution. But, as he looked over at Zephyra, her luminous features focused on the stellar navigation display while humming a melody that somehow managed to sound both alien and familiar, Marcus felt a sense of rightness that went bone deep. This was his destiny, his role in the great story of human expansion into the cosmos. So, he said, settling back in his captain's chair and watching the stars wheel past, where are we going first? Zirian Prime, Zephyra replied, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. It's a crystal world where the entire surface resonates with harmonious frequencies. The Zarathi use it as a place of meditation and learning. I thought it would be perfect for our first stop as a bonded pair. Sounds incredible, Marcus said, and meant it. How long will it take to get there? With Valak's drive technology? About 6 hours. Marcus laughed, remembering that the same journey would have taken his old ship several months. I'm definitely going to have to get used to the new scales of time and distance. Don't worry, Zephyra said with a grin, I'll be there to help you adjust to every new experience. As their ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the solar system far behind, Marcus realized that his life had become something he never could have anticipated. He was no longer just a human exploring space, he was part of something vast and wonderful, a partnership that spanned species and promised adventures among the stars. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, its people just beginning to understand that their lonely existence in an empty universe was over forever. Ahead lay the galaxy, full of wonders and challenges that would test both humanity's adaptability and their worthiness to join the community of advanced civilizations. And, in between, on a ship designed by love and powered by technology beyond human comprehension, a man from Earth and a woman from the stars began their journey together, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of two species reaching toward a shared destiny among the infinite stars. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to write together. And Marcus Rivera, former captain of the UES Horizon, current representative of humanity in galactic affairs, and newly bonded partner to one of the most ancient beings in the galaxy, found himself looking forward to every page of that story. After all, the best adventures were the ones you never saw coming.